Welcome in, ladies. Welcome to Elevate Her Space. This week, we're going to be talking about how to train the subconscious mind and how important it is to train the mind in the direction we want our life to flow in. I feel like I am currently working so hard to train my mind out of so many ideas and patterns and cycles that I've developed over the years. And I am coming to the realization how much work it actually takes to train the subconscious mind to think in a direction that is more suiting for the most divine outcome of our lives. Last week, we talked about the layers of our mind. We talked about the narrator brain. We talked about the emotional brain. We talked about the logic brain. And we also talked about the divine layer, right? The most ultimate layer. And the layers that come before that kind of set as barriers before tapping into that divine ultimate knowing. This week, I want to talk about the subconscious mind and just talking about this specific barrier and how important it is that we are able to manipulate it in order to go in the direction we want our whole lives to go in. What is the subconscious mind, you may ask, right? The subconscious mind is going to be those first thoughts that come to our mind whenever there's a new thought, right? Whenever something new's happening, it's those first few thoughts. Usually it's shaped by past experiences, repetition, or what we've kind of like told ourselves throughout time based off of our past experiences. This part of your mind reacts before you think. So that says a lot, right? This is the part of your mind that reacts before you think. So before you even give yourself a little bit more time to rationalize with this thought, that this is what the subconscious mind is. It's not logical. And your subconscious mind is very impressionable. Anything can change your subconscious mind. Anything that you listen to, anything that you watch, anything that you repeatedly say to yourself changes the subconscious mind. And knowing how delicate it is so important to be aware of it. The level of awareness has to be on an ultimate high when we are trying to retrain our subconscious mind. Why it becomes a barrier as to trying to tap into our divine mind, our divine knowing, is that more than likely there's limiting beliefs in our subconscious mind. There's fear-based responses, and some of these patterns and cycles that our subconscious mind brings up is usually based off of old patterns, right? These are old beliefs, old identity patterns that we don't want to associate ourselves with anymore. This week, I was encountered with an idea and a thought that I truly did not feel comfortable in. I was encountered with an experience that I knew I had to get out of. And it brought up a lot of things into my subconscious mind. And in order for me to get into the environment of full awareness, I literally had to unplug. And I unplug very often, but I want to put emphasis on how important it is to unplug when you are training your subconscious mind. I put my phone away. I brought myself out to nature and I allowed myself to move. And through this act alone, I was able to bring up a lot of things. A lot of things came up for me. Like I'm saying, past experiences came up. Old patterns came up. And I hit a point at that road where I had two decisions to make. I had the decision to either go ahead and operate in the ways that I'm used to operating in, or operating in the identity that I once resonated with, or deciding to change completely and what I used to do in the past was I would turn to external factors in order to cope with any pain or hurt or disagreements that I encountered. That might have looked like drinking, going to the club, or cursing the person out that I had a problem with, talking about their character, all of the things, right? I decided I did not want to do that. I wanted my strength and my truth and my inner knowing to lay into something so much more deeper than that. Through the experience that I encountered this week, I was encountered with a crossroad. Whether I wanted to turn to external things to cope with this pain, this hurt, and all of the things, or did I want to dig deep into my soul and into my spirit and really do the inner work it's going to take in order for me to become the woman I want to become? As hard as it was to choose that second option, I chose it. And I found a certain level of inner strength that I've yet seen before within myself. And I thank God for that. I thank God for the mindset and the opportunity and the choice that He gave me. And I thank God for the strength and the faith that it took to make that decision. I instantly became aware of the actual work it's going to take in order to change my subconscious mind. I already knew this. Usually we hear this. It takes true inner work to change the trajectory of your life, to change the person that you are today. If there's parts of you that you no longer want to associate yourself with, it's going to take work. But I would rather choose to do this kind of work 1,000,000 times to be stuck in the past, to continuously be part of these cycles. I have that much hate and rage towards associating myself with that, with the old versions of me, with the old versions of my family members. I refuse to do that. I have that much hate that it's making me choose the other direction, the other choice. And I thank you, God, for that. We don't want this subconscious barrier to get in the way of our divine knowing and our divine doing. So it is so important to train this part of our mind. It's so important to choose to do the work. The first part of choosing to do the work is choosing to relax your nervous system. We are so used to operating in such a survival mode, especially as women. And I don't blame ourselves for that. There was a time where we needed to use these survival mechanisms in order to protect our family and our loved ones. And we are just not in those times anymore. We don't have to use survival tactics all the time in order to operate in this timeline, in order to operate in this realm at this specific moment. So what I think God is trying to do in the collective right now is really teach us how to use our feminine to relax our nervous system, to truly relax, because we need to tap into our divine in order to move the patterns, in order to change the universe right now as to what is going on right now. We are not living in those times anymore where we have to operate in survival, where we feel like we have to protect ourselves every given moment. We are not there anymore. It is up to us in this generation in order to calm our nervous system and be able to relax all those traumas, all those cycles, all those negative ways and shapes of thinking in order to move forward. The state of our nervous system dictates our reality. Two people, we are all living the same reality. The same thing can happen to two different people, and based off of their reality, they will have different outcomes. For examples, grief and loss. When you lose someone, you can either have the choice to choose to feel like this person has been taken away from you. This person is no longer here anymore. You are a victim to this grief. This grief is going to have a total toll on you. Or you can make the decision to be happy about this. I know this can be the hardest thing, right? To lose a loved one. And I'm not saying that it won't be hard emotionally for you, but you can choose to use this grief as a blessing, right? Like this spirit is now in a different realm. And more than likely in a better realm than the realm that we're in right now when it comes to the level of peace. We can be happy for that spirit to be able to make it to that realm. We can look at this spirit, this new spirit that God has gained, as something that we can constantly use reference to in order to keep going in this lifetime. When I lost my grandma, I decided I did not want it to be a victim story. I wanted to use this as a advantage to keep going in life. I used her life and the way she lived her life as reference on how I want to take my last breath. She was fierce, she was loving, she was also very giving, but she also lived in her truth. She was not a people pleaser. And I love that about her. And I know that when she left this earth, her last breath taken, she lived in her knowing. She lived in her truth. And she left very lightly. And that's how I want to leave this life. I constantly use her as reference as to how I want to constantly walk in this life. I look at her life as a constant representation of how I want to walk this path. A breakup is also another great example of how our realities can be different depending on who's holding the reality. Breakup can hold so heavily on someone, and it can really stop so much for that one person, right? It can have a complete big toll on that person. Or a breakup can be looked at as something as God is just taking this one situation, this one relationship away from this specific moment in your life for a reason, because you're meant to focus on something else. You have two options with that. You can have the option to be heartbroken, stay in your misery, stay in your grief of losing that relationship, bash that other person, call that person a bad person, or you can thank God for revealing certain parts of this person that no longer suit you anymore in this timeline of your life. It can be that simple. And although it may hurt, you can hold your hand with God during this hurt and ask God to show you something better, to show you something bigger. Have Him show you what you are meant to do on this planet. It can unlock something completely bigger than what you can even imagine if you just allow God to lead you in that direction. God doesn't make mistakes. Even with a job opportunity, right? The same job opportunity can be encountered by two different people, but depending on how that person is receiving of it will change the trajectory of that opportunity. An opportunity can feel like a responsibility if it's in the wrong hands. Or the opportunity can be something that will unlock the most divine in the right hands. Our nervous system really matters because when your body is anxious, overstimulated, or in survival mode, your default will be fear. It would misinterpret situations, or it can even block your intuition. And you do not want that in order to make decisions in the logical realm. You want your subconscious to be the ground of your decision making. You want to make sure that the environment we're creating in our subconscious mind is going to encourage the right decisions. How we actually relax the nervous system, instead of shutting it down, we don't want to forcefully quiet it down. We have to create safety in order for it to be softened. So sometimes we think that once we're encountering some emotions and things that we don't like, we just shut our nervous system off, right? And what that might look like is just like, oh, I'm just gonna go fall asleep. Oh, I'm just gonna go, like not talk to anybody, not do anything. Like I'm just gonna stay stagnant. No, let's work on creating a safe space within yourself in order to work through this inner healing that needs to be done in order to make it out on the other side. So this inner healing, this inner trust, this inner safety that you are creating is what it's going to take in order to reach those new levels. That is a direct correlation. In order to rewrite our subconscious mind, we have to be consistent. So it's not going to take one video, one podcast, one meditation, one breath work, one conversation. It's not going to take just one time. It's a constant thing. It's a constant training. It's even more than us going to the gym for an hour to change our physical. Like, I wish it was that easy because I would have been done. Like, going to the gym is nothing to me. Going to spend 1 to 2 hours to work on my physical physique is nothing to me. I love it. I enjoy it. If changing the subconscious mind is that easy, I think more than likely a lot of us would be there. But inner healing, inner work takes so much more than that. And that's what makes it so much more worth it, and it has more carryover. In order for us to make sure that we are training our subconscious mind correctly, some of the things we have to incorporate are affirmations, speaking truth over yourself daily. And that's where meditation comes in. That's where prayer comes in. Like, these two things are very important and very much need repetition throughout the day. The consumption of our music, podcasts, and conversations is another huge thing. That is why I put so much importance on this channel, that please be mindful of every word that you're allowing inside of your ears. Allow yourself to ask, what frequency are these things operating in? And if it doesn't suit you, turn it off completely. And set up measures that you are not able to access that again. Every time I'm on social media and I see something that just is so disturbing, I block that person because I don't want to see that again. I can't afford to see it again. That's how you have to look at it. Your time is so valuable that you don't have even time or money or efforts to be able to afford to see that stuff. To see the stuff that is just like so brainwashing and not empowering. Like, you cannot afford that, because we're on the road of training our subconscious mind to get out of those cycles, those very cycles. It is very important that we are aware of this, right? That it takes a level of awareness in order to make these decisions. And through the awareness and making of the decisions is where embodiment comes into play, right? So soon as we are training our subconscious mind day in and day out, we will soon embody the character and the values and the life that you want to live. And at that moment, you are bound to attract it. There's no other way, shape, or form. If you are able to embody wholeheartedly what you want in life, there's no way it's not going to come in your way. There's no way it's not coming in your direction. So I want you to ask yourself, what thoughts do you repeat daily to yourself that are affecting your subconscious mind right now? What energy are you choosing to operate in? What is your perspective? What is your reality? Is your nervous system in survival or is it in trust? The moment that we decide not to trust, then of course we're going to live in survival, because we're the only one fending for ourselves. But when we decide to trust in the most divine, then we are choosing to relax our nervous system. That is when we're deciding to choose to relax our nervous system. Is when we decide to align with the divine and trust the divine. Once we decide to trust in the divine is when all of those positive things in your character tend to show up, right? The discipline in our character tends to show up. We operate out of love when we decide to align with the divine. We get things done once we decide to operate in the divine. We've decided that we no longer want to accept anything that's going to take us out of track. Anything that's going to distract us from the truth. That is all I have for you, ladies. I pray that this resonates with you. Let me know in the comments how this message has resonated with you. I pray that you are able to pull something from this message in order to carry out throughout your whole life. I love you so much, and I'll see you next time.